and welcome to the J Free 906 podcast. And tonight, Mike, Owen, and Seth, we're back for some Bigfoot. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome.
I love the shirt. Kiss.
Yeah. I felt like rocking some Kiss for
Seth,
tonight's
I'm not
show.
sure you're old enough to wear that shirt.
Oh,
Of course, everybody can be in the Kiss army.
that's right.
That's true. That's true.
I've
Well played.
learned enough of Gene's bass lines.
Oh, well, I see you got a bass right behind you.
Yeah, a little uke bass.
A little uke bass. I know, and that's something.
Didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, 100,000 years. That's a fun one to play.
Oh,
but
man.
anyways, I digress. We're here for
Yes.
Bigfoot, not Kiss.
Detroit Rock City. All right. So, yeah. Oh, look at there. Deanna says, I love that music. Yeah, me too. I'm a Kiss fan from way back when. I never saw them in concert, though. Never. It's
Neither have I.
one band I never saw in concert. So many others, but not that one. Well, welcome here, everyone, folks. I appreciate you guys being here, and Mike and Seth, of course. Another good episode last night. Man, I mean, how much circumstantial evidence can you come up with? You know, and not have Bigfoot standing in front of you, or do we have Bigfoot standing? We're going to get to that and toward the end here tonight. Oh, yes. And Jim, somebody mentioned Jim is amazing. Jim, yes, he created that song. I got to redo that little 1 minute little intro video there because I had the original one, had his name on it saying that he created the music. And then I redid it and I forgot to put his name on it. And sorry about that, Jim. But yeah, it's a very good song. Really enjoy it. But yeah, so we, this season has been very, very good. And we're going to get at the end of the show tonight, toward the end of it, we're going to be showing that clip that Russell got the thermal image last night because.
Yeah, they really ended. They're great at ending on those cliffhangers.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
Yes.
Yes, they are for sure. And we got one more episode coming up. They may do a bonus. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about a bonus. They did one last year, which was kind of a wrap up. Later months after their investigations, and then they had where Bryce got everybody on a Zoom call or whatever, and they went over some things. So hopefully they'll do something like that again this year. We don't know. I haven't seen anything on it, but
yeah, it'd be cool to see. It's hard in the moment to think of every bit of data that they've collected, but I'm sure that we have not seen every part of it, and I bet there's some that's going to take time to review. So I really liked that bonus episode last season, and I hope they get, like you said, I hope we get it this year.
Yeah,
and then we can be here and talk about it.
Some pretty good stuff in those because the stuff that is like the DNA testing and the hair testing, it takes a lot more time, and they usually come out with that information in that final episode. It would be nice if they had that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's we'll see what they do, and hopefully they will, because in the meanwhile, you guys, I'm going to lean on you guys in the chat, you folks out there in the chat, because we're going to need some more Bigfoot content. The show will be over, of course, and but that doesn't mean that the Expedition Bigfoot show will be over, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about Bigfoot as we go through the season, or the rest of the year. For those of you who know my channel, you know that I also talk about the Curse of Oak Island and Skinwalker Ranch, and then beyond stuff. We talk about UFOs, UAPs, which we haven't done in a little while. So we're going to be doing some more of that as we go along, but definitely don't want to let the whole Bigfoot thing fall to the wayside, because I really enjoy the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. And I still call it a phenomenon because even though, like I said, shows like this, we get a lot of really, really good evidence, but we still don't have that big hairy creature standing in front of us on camera. So, or sitting down and having a chat. So we'll see. Hopefully one day we'll get that, but not yet.
Professor Bigfoot comes out of the woods. And...
yeah, sits down, cracks open a beer with you. All right, well, let me tell you. And Ronnie is convinced that over there in this island, Prince of Wales Island in Alaska, that there is a family unit, is what he said last night, right? A family unit of Bigfoots.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? I feel like at this point, I kind of think they're always, they've seem to be encountering family units throughout these seasons. Like I'm thinking of all the nests they found in previous seasons where you could see where, Russell would point out like this would be where the alpha or the patriarch father of the family unit would be on lookout. And here's where you could see like the kids. And it almost like he found like a kids play area where they were like making Bigfoot kid size structures. So yeah, it's certainly, I think they, like us, are family units. And in this episode they talked about, are these I think Bryce was talking about like, is this a native, like a almost primitive version of man? And
yeah, he did.
yeah, I mean, we share a lot of the same, seem to share some same rituals.
Right.
If they bury their dead, like some speculate.
Yeah, I like Craig's little comment here talking about our question. I wonder if we could be dealing with a shapeshifter going from Bigfoot to a wolf to a question mark. It could explain the wolf hairs in California. Yep. Bigfoot and tracks disappearing into thin air. I can't disagree with you, Craig. That, and then in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about stuff like that. I mean, it is very interesting that I'm going to show you a little piece. I was showing it to Mike and Seth in the pre-show, a little clip that I have where I saw something, and I don't know that if it wasn't I'm going to ask the chat when I get to it. I'm going to ask the chat if you all saw this, and if not, if you have the ability like I do, because I have Discovery Go, I can go back and watch the episode again and again and again. If you have that, I'm going to implore you to go and check it out for yourself and let me know next week what you all think in the chat, and you guys, because I caught something that I'm not sure what I'm seeing, and I want to show it to you and get your opinions on it. So, well, before we get started, I wanted to say too, if you haven't already, please just subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell so you know that we have new content coming out. And if you like the content of our show tonight, please give us a thumbs up. Those thumbs up, they really help. The YouTube algorithms, that really helps. I wish the chat that we get during the show would actually help. It doesn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, it should.
I know. But as soon as the show is done live, it says there's 0 comments. And then any comment that comes after that shows up as a 1, 2, 3 or whatever. And I try to respond to all of them. I go read them all the time, and I try to respond, not, right away. I'm usually a few hours late, but I do try to respond to all of those. And those are the ones that count. So, but I really do appreciate you all being here, and give us a thumbs up on that. So, and again, I really enjoy, I know we're getting close to the end here of this season. But Mike and Seth, gosh, guys, I really do appreciate all that you do to help make this a fun show and bring in all your information and expertise to the table. So thank you guys for that. All right, let's get into it. Now, this one was called Nocturnal Nightmare. And, I before we get started on this too, I wanted to mention about the Kushtaka. We've heard that mentioned, Kushtaka, many times. And like Craig was just saying in the chat about some weirdness going on, and maybe even mind games. They were talking with a guy. Bryce went out and talked to a guy named Josh, and we'll get to that. But talking about this getting in your head, this Kushtaka, getting in your head and doing some stuff. I mean, and then we've seen the ritualistic type of stuff out there in the woods going on. I mean, you put all this stuff together, and I don't want to go visit this place at all in Alaska. Many places I'd love to go, but I'm not so sure I ever want to go to Alaska and check this out. I don't know.
Definitely different than all the other places they've been.
Yeah.
Got a different vibe.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And showing Russell, I mean, that clip last week of him in his cameraman Ryan jumping up in that cabin and getting the hell out of there, beating feet to get out of that place. I mean, it was.
It looked like a nice, safe place to stay for the night, but it only had one way in, and that means it's only got one way out.
Yeah.
I think he regretted that afterwards.
Yeah, he thought about that at the time, and he's thinking, we got no way to get out of this. If something comes in that door, we're trapped.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's going to rip us to shreds, start pulling arms and legs off.
Mm-hmm.
And as Kat says, going to eat you. I think, Kat, are you the one that always says that Bigfoots eat people? So, all right. So let's.
I hadn't heard that.
Oh, that's Kat says. I mean, I don't know how
Mhm.
she knows this, but she says that Bigfoots eat people.
There's certain Native American groups that believe that.
Is it you? Oh, Kat
Ones
said
like
me?
around Mount St. Helens, up in that region.
Yeah, I've been there.
There's Native Americans won't go there because
That's the one that blew up pretty
Mhm.
recently, right? Or not recently, but when I was a kid, I remember
80.
hearing about it.
1980.
Yep.
Hmm.
Tastes like chicken. All right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up now. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes it even more fun to go out looking for Bigfoot, right? They eat people. Whether or not they do, but we'll get to that in a bit. I almost gave away a part of the show. All right, so I'm going to bring up this clip here, and this is the first clip that I captured, and this is right at the beginning of the show. Ronnie is talking to Maria. Now, you remember that the end of the show last week, Maria had she had the military grade night vision goggles on, and they had the GoPro on the back. And I thought she saw something, but apparently it was she heard something. And give me a thumbs up during this, because I want to make sure that we can hear this clip. And I know it looks kind of distorted there. I don't know if I can see if I can enhance it a little bit. Maybe that helps a little. All right. So, and I've got to stop this. I didn't edit this all together, so I've got to stop it along the way here. But let me know what you think. This is just her telling Ronnie about what she had heard.
Still, I'm not sure if the right word is no, but confused by the sounds I'd heard. I mean, it was so strange. And then all of a sudden came this really, like, super loud, like, bang, like a super heavy hit. It's really, really strange.
So, the reason why I really wanted to capture that clip right there was because of her reaction. She is very level-headed.
Yeah.
Conservative.
She always has a very measured response to things.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And she is here too, but you can tell that she is, I don't know. I was going to say bothered. I don't know if bothered's the right word to use.
Yeah, I get what because I had that thought too, kind of watching this show, where I was like, man, Maria is not like, this is uncharacteristic of her to use words like spooky or just kind of little words that I'm like, oh wow, like to pull from the other show we like when a guy like Eric Bard kind of gets spooked by something like on Skinwalker Ranch, it piques my interest right away, because I'm like, wow, like if this person is having this reaction, then there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
and everybody in the chat
too.
saying, rattled, that's a good word. Yeah,
rattled, spooked, all of those. And she is very scientific about her approach. Shattered. Yeah. So, but you could tell, and that's why I wanted to save that clip, because we don't usually see Dr. Maria Mayer in that, with that particular, being rattled, spooked, in that way. So I thought, for her to get that way, it really bothered her. And that loud bang that she heard, again, even if you're with a guy with a gun and a cameraman or something, and we don't know how close these guys with the guns are. Oh, there goes my little bubbles. Figure that out. Yeah.
She got special effects now. What?
For some reason I'm getting these little special effects popping up, and I don't know.
If you do
what happened?
Last time you're doing
I got the bubbles. Yeah.
Oh, do we have that?
I don't think we do.
I don't. Hello?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's not right.
And I was waving my arms around last week, and I had like fireworks behind me.
Oh wow!
I still haven't figured out what's causing that yet, but
new features.
Yeah, I don't know if it's StreamYard or if it's my MacBook that I'm using. Maybe it's that. I whatever. Anyway, so anyway, so I wanted to show that clip for that reason. Now, as we know, as the show goes along, at the end of last week's show, we had Russell Acord, who was, hi, Brenda. Russell Acord was tracking. He had those trackers out, like 18 or 19 of those trackers. And those are little things that hang in a branch, and he hangs them all around so they'll catch on an animal's hair. And then he can then, he'll be notified when they're picked up, if he's within range of it, and then he can actually track whatever it is that has the tracker stuck in its hair, like a burr. And so he tracked this thing all the way down to the water's edge, to the ocean, on the beach there, and then he lost it. He lost it. The signal went away just as he got to the beach, and so he said it was heading straight for the beach. He doesn't know that if they work while it's in water, but all of a sudden he just lost the signal, and there he was at the beach. And so he decided that the only possible explanation in his mind at that time was that it actually started swimming across, whatever it was. And this one was up in the air pretty high. It was like 6 feet off the ground, was it not? Wasn't it that one? That
It was the highest one. Yeah.
Right. And so he was very concerned about the fact that it could not have been a bear. Unless a bear was walking at that point on 2 legs. And a moose, we did kind of discuss, maybe it was a moose because moose get very big. So maybe it was a moose, but again, you would think that he would hear. A moose is not going to be that quiet. So if it entered the water, I think it would have been noisy. Just a thought.
You would have seen tracks from a moose too.
That too.
They're so heavy. I think you would have seen that.
Yeah. So, anyway, so the next day, he gets a hold of Ronny and Maria, and he asks if they will assist him in going on. And here's a shot of that there. He's talking about he wants to get their help to assist him in tracking this. And this is where they decide to split up. Dr. Maria Mayer is going to go with Russell, and Ronny's going to stay behind and continue some experiments and do some stuff. And so here's just a little shot. Is some of the pictures they showed where they're getting ready to head over. And Ronny goes back out to that point on the beach, somewhere in that area where he's looking to see and he's looking for tracks. He's looking for some sort of evidence of where Russell had, figured this thing crossed over at. So he's walking along. Obviously the tide is out. Man, I got a lot of congestion here tonight. Sorry about that. So he's out there taking a look around a little bit. And then while he's there, then he talked about this. And this is another thing I wanted to bring up. The Alaskan Triangle. Had either of you guys or anyone in the chat, had you ever heard of the Alaskan Triangle before?
I hadn't.
I had heard of it before. They've done some shows on History Channel or Discovery. I've seen discussions on that.
Yeah, I hadn't, I really didn't know anything about it. And so they were talking about this 325,000 square miles. And then they talked about, okay, a couple people are popping up in the chat saying, yes, I have heard of it. I thought I had heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. Not until this year. So in that, they talked about it all began, I guess, in 1972 when I guess he was the House Speaker, Hale Boggs, and this other guy, Nick Begich. They were lost they in the triangle, in this triangle area. I guess they were in a plane. The plane went down. They were never found. And this goes between Anchorage, Juneau, and the name of that other place up there. That
I was looking at that going, how's he going to say that?
Yeah, it's Oktiagvik, something like that. It used to be called Barrow. So anyway, so it was out there. The thing that got me about this Alaskan Triangle, and we were talking about this a couple episodes ago, 16,000 people have gone missing in this area. 16,000 people. And when you talk about the population of Alaska, that's pretty much everybody, isn't it? I mean,
is there anybody left?
Is there anybody left there? I don't know. And obviously I'm joking, but that's a lot of people. And when you look at the demographic of an area like that, the per capita, that's a lot of people. 16,000 people today.
Interesting to see the dispersion of how they went missing. What percentage were in aircraft? Because aircraft are used quite a bit in Alaska because there's just no other way to get around. And what percentage are just people going off in the woods and go missing?
Yep.
Exactly how are they going missing? What's the biggest common denominator there? It'd be interesting to
Right.
Yeah, I'd want to know how many people are locals, how many people are from out of state.
Yeah.
Like I was at a place, Whidbey Island in Washington. It's north of Seattle.
Okay.
My friend was serving on a naval base there, so I visited one year, and we went hiking at this little park where the bridge that connects you to the island. And someone was telling us about the history of the bridge, and it was just known for being a bridge where people would drive to from all across the country to go and commit suicide.
Wow.
And it was kind of like this mystery of like, what about this bridge is drawing these people? How did they hear about it? So I'm curious, how many people willingly go missing? Is something calling them from all parts of the country to disappear on themselves?
That's interesting. I just heard a story about a guy. It was on Sasquatch Chronicles, and he was recounting an experience where he was a I think, like professional mountain biker, and they were out mountain biking, and he heard a growl, low frequency, but nobody else did. And all he remembers is them, the people he was with kind of, coming to and realizing that what had happened is he said, I heard the growl. I felt very hot. And I started taking my coats and parkas and stuff off. And this was not a warm day. It was, he said, probably on the bike, -1 degree Fahrenheit, wind chill. And he was starting to take his clothes off, and they stopped him. He said the only thing that the hardest part was, he said he couldn't get his big parka in his little tiny backpack. It wasn't meant to go in there, but he didn't remember why. They said they did not hear the growl. He knows he heard the growl, and he's like, all I remember was being at peace, thinking I was hot, and it was like a summer day. I needed to get my clothes off and lay next to the stream.
Wow.
Again, that
where was this
infrasound. I don't remember exactly where it was, but it's Sasquatch Chronicles episode 57.
Wow.
It was very early. He's almost to 1,000. Next episode's 1,000 podcasts.
Wow.
So anyway, that very interesting. I've never heard that before. And, you hear that on the Missing 411, David Politis stuff, that often people's clothes are found. I know that that's a sign of hypothermia too.
Yeah.
But this was not that. He was fine, and they were going along, and he said he very clearly remembers hearing a very low growl, and then his entire demeanor changed, and he was like, it was just, everything was different, and I don't know why I was doing what I was doing.
Right. Well, you talk about some of the different things that we've heard. They talk about this Kushtaka.
Yep.
So you've got and the clothes that Bryce found up there, where it looked like somebody just took off all their clothes for some strange reason, left their keys and their tools behind, and their coat and everything else in Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly. There you go. Renee's bringing it up right now. And so, and you talk about that guy, Josh, that we're going to get to in just a little bit, who's talking about the Kushtaka, and he was kind of told to go up into the mountain, go under the mountain. So he did.
Yep.
Infrasound. Could there be some subliminal message embedded into the infrasound? Why not?
I mean, if you want to go down a spooky rabbit hole, look up the infrasound weapons that we already have that are declassified to the general public that we can look up and see how they use. They can put a voice in your ear in a crowded, room through walls. They can, hit you with ultrasonic stuff, make you sick. And it's just, that's one of my biggest fears of, just that being used across in mass, like a whole population at once.
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, well, it makes me think of like those people that see the Bigfoot working with military installations. I'm like, are we learning some, if they are an advanced intelligence, multidimensional, is there some sort of like secret communication, knowledge sharing going on, and we're somehow weaponizing their cloaking abilities, their infrasound abilities?
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not.
I mean, these are the holes you go down when you start talking about this stuff.
Yeah, up there can make people. Yeah, and so I mean, the more we and that's the thing about it. The more we dig into some of these shows, I mean, yes, there are TV shows, but they're not, and they are reality TV shows, but they are not scripted television programs. This is not, and neither is Skinwalker Ranch, and neither is The Curse of Oak Island. And that's what I love about them. They're not scripted. People can tell me that, oh, yeah, a scripted show, all they want. I will never believe it because I've talked to the people on the shows and the people who have been part of these shows, and they all say they are not. But the more we look into these types of shows, the more we're seeing stuff like that, weirdness like that. And it's like, that's why I have to tell you, Seth, that's not out of the realm of possibility. It really is not. And what are we seeing on this show? I mean, we're seeing so many weird things happening, and we're going to get to that with Ronnie here in just a few minutes. And this guy, Josh, that Bryce went to talk to. So, man, I don't know. And we can speculate on that here a little bit more. I'm going to show this one here. This is kind of it's when the artist rendition of the guy's Russell, when he lost that signal, he said he was the closest point from his map, his GPS, showing the closest point in which to cross over to the mainland from the island. Animals know this information. The animals that would cross know this information because there's a point up in Michigan where the birds use a place at Whitefish Point to cross over because it's the shortest distance to get across Lake Superior in that area. So and they know that. Animals know this. It's not a, far-fetched for them to realize that this is the best point to cross because of travel time, whether they're swimming or flying or whatever. So, and this was just a little artist rendition showing that particular picture. Here's a shot. I grabbed this one because I just thought it was really a cool picture, and it shows them out there. And they went out in a boat. They hired a boat. Russell was running out of time on the tracker. At the time he was talking to them, he had about 12 hours of battery life estimated left on that tracker. By this time, there's only a couple hours left, maybe 4 at this point when they're going around in the boat. So he's trying to pick up the signal. They're working along the mainland edge of the coast there to see if they can pick up the signal. And sure enough, they do. Ronnie, at the meanwhile, stayed back over, and he was out on the beach, and he was walking along the beach there looking to see if he could figure out exactly where Russell had seen some of the things that he saw. And I grabbed this picture here because what is that thing right there and behind him on the ground? Does anybody know what that is?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was like a buoy or something. I don't know.
They never said a word about it, and it doesn't look like, I mean, he's walking away from it. I don't know. I don't have a clue what that thing is, but I saw that laying there, and I'm like, what the heck is that? But in front of him, there is a really cool looking little, it looks like a tree fell over, maybe from a storm, and it's created this nice little den that he was looking into right there in front of him. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, here's this little round Yeah, it looks like a helmet or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Or
Orb.
like a little grill.
That's what I thought. A little
Tiny.
barbecue grill or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rubber
Maybe
grill.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little
Right.
rubber grill or something. Yeah. It's a Skinwalker Ranch flying orb. That's what it is. Yes.
There you go, Alan.
I don't know. I just saw that. I'm like, what in the world is that? And I wanted to see what anybody in the chat thought it was. That's a little interesting thing there. As he was looking around, he looked up over this little ledge, and you can actually see one of them right here. He found this little area where, right up in here, where there was some skulls.
Mm-hmm.
He found several bones, some skulls, and stuff in there. And I wanted to get your take on this. He thought it was a kill site or like a feeding area or a kill site. There were several different types of skulls here, and several different jaw bones and things like that. What do you guys make of that?
I think given the number of predators in Alaska, it's not quite like the kill site that Russell stumbled upon,
right,
with his super sniffer that led him there.
Yep.
There's, especially on the edge of the water like that, you gotta factor in much larger predators. I mean, they've seen signs of wolves and obviously bears. So it wasn't quite as impressive as the one Russell had found, but you don't know. I'm kind of surprised they didn't take samples and put some and bag some up, and maybe he did. We just didn't see it on the show.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I kind of was like, well, there's so many predators that could be a bear or wolf. I mean, I've seen stuff like that hiking around. Yeah. He picked up a rock that was in a shape that looked like it would be effective in cracking some skulls. Maybe he saw some evidence of use of that on the rock that we didn't get to see, and like y'all said, maybe evidence was collected. I kind of had the same thoughts of like, okay, well, are you gonna, let's treat it like a scientific scene, but I wasn't sold. A rock on a rocky beach was kind of my thought of like, yeah, there would be a rock right there. So I wouldn't put my money on Bigfoot on that one.
Yeah. It was interesting that they were all in the same place.
And there could be different
animals that dead there. So, because he picked a couple of them up, he said one looked like a deer skull to him, and then others were not that big, like a deer. So hard to say. Alan said, look at the top left of the first pick. So I'm going to bring these back up. Alan, you're going to have to. I know we got a little delay here, so I'm going to bring up this pick. Is this the one you're talking about? This first one with the grill? Or was it one of them after this? So let me know. And I want to see what you're directing my attention to. He said top left. So I'll wait just a second. Next, the next one. Okay. Okay, that one there. Top left. Looks like a tree. To me, that looks like a tree that's the bottom of the tree and all the roots, like it fell over.
Yeah, root system, root ball.
Yep, yeah, the root ball, yeah, with all the because it's right there on the coastline. So I'll see what he says on that. Was this the one you're talking about, Alan? But interesting, like I said, the different things that he found in here and the different skulls. So I just thought it was very interesting. What's the black void in the other pick? The black void. So I don't know which one he's talking about. Was this one? This is, well, my picture is unfortunately, the means by which I have to grab these pictures is not the best. Hopefully we'll get the.
So beautiful during the day. All that green.
I know. So back. So it must be this one here he's talking about. Oh. Let me know what it is you think you see there, and we'll come back to it. So as they go along, you got Russell and Maria. They're out, and they finally they pick up a signal from the tracker. Lo and behold.
I was surprised. I didn't think they were going to get anything.
Yeah, I didn't either. They showed it, so I thought, well, maybe this is going to lead them somewhere. But let me know, Alan. Let me know what you think you're seeing, and I'll try to bring it back. Because I know we got about a 15-second delay from where I'm at, and you guys are seeing it. So, but the tracker, it was really interesting because they got this information on the tracker. Yeah, I just clicked through them pretty quick. So I was really happy that they were able to pick up that tracker.
Yeah.
And then that led them over to the mainland, which that took them to a whole new area of research in this whole saga here. And I'm really glad they took it. They went over there. In the meanwhile, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, when they were on the boat and talking about it crossing, and Maria was talking about the amount of daylight now, super long daylight, very short window of dark, when she was saying we think they like to hunt. And I felt like she was making a good case for why at least I hadn't considered why they would travel to and from Alaska. Because I initially was saying, why wouldn't you stay in Alaska? Why would you need to go back down to California? But when she was talking about the daylight availability, them heading back down south so they can have a longer nocturnal night, that's when I was like, oh, okay, there you go.
There she is thinking scientifically about primates. Yeah.
Yeah, there's different theories on whether they migrate or not. I've heard a better description might be that they are nomadic. That migration would be from north to south, south to north. But nomadic, to me, the way it was described, at least the theory was that they go from region to region over whatever distance that may be. Who knows? As different types of food becomes more prevalent in the seasons, so they may have a loop that they go on, and it may cover several hundred miles or something. But as opportunist hunters and hunter gatherers, that theory seemed to make some sense to me, and it kind of stemmed from some people that had habituation sites where they had repeat encounters at home, at their home, and oftentimes they will report that it only happens during certain months of the year. Like, okay, so nomadic versus migration, that's interesting.
It makes sense to me why a new development in some of these areas, the Bigfoot are away. Developer comes in, clears it out, puts in all these houses, puts in a neighborhood, and then the Bigfoot come back and they terrorize these people.
Yeah.
I've
house
seen a lot
on
of
my strawberry patch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is my home. You guys are invading my home.
Yeah.
Kind of talked about that before, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Alan says this picture, he said the first picture with the skull, which was this one right here. And again, he said something about look like a tandem wheel. I'm not sure what he's seeing there, because I'm not seeing a tandem wheel. I've got the picture up now, and I'll hold it there for a couple of seconds to wait on you there, Alan, if this is what you're seeing, or this is the one you're talking about. This is the first one that had a skull, but I don't see anything in here that would indicate to me a tandem wheel. I don't know. Look top left. I'm looking. I don't see. Let's see if I can zoom in a little. Top left. I'm not seeing it. You guys seeing it?
No.
Look left. I'm up in the left corner right now.
So what is that big brown thing that's out of focus?
This right here? Yeah, it looks like a branch or a piece of.
I think that was near in frame, so it was a little out of focus.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Yeah, it is out of focus a little bit. Yep.
Hmm.
White hole, that right there. There is a little white hole, but I think that's like one of these. There's like a little plant life around here, and I think that's just part of it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're seeing there. Looks like a tandem wheel. I don't know. I wish these pictures were better. I'm gonna try to get better at these things. I wish I could snap them like I used to with or still can with the Curse of Oak Island, but they've got me blocked out on this one. I can't get those pictures anymore. Not like I used to get them, which were they were very, very clear.
I sure would like to know where Russell gets those trackers from.
I know,
they
right?
look like a custom deal, but to have that app also, that's pretty cool stuff. There shouldn't have been any issue with the water. It would have survived the water just fine. He's right. The signal would have died while in the water,
Correct.
depending on how deep it was, where it was on the whatever it was that it got stuck to. But it looked like it was potted and sealed pretty well. That I don't think the water wouldn't affect it at all. It's too bad that it doesn't last longer than seemed like about 24 hours is about the max battery life on what he was talking about, because he said in the next morning they only had 12 hours left.
Right.
And by the time they got a boat rented and got out there, and kind of surprised they didn't either use a drone or a helicopter would have been better.
Ah, yeah, that's very true, huh? Interesting. Yeah, something to get them out there a little bit faster because, yeah, like you said, there was it took too much time. But they did get over there, which was kind of neat. Here's a shot of Ronnie. Now, Ronnie is set up what he called bear bells. This is another one of those little things for around being out there in the woods that a woodsman would know that I didn't know. Putting out a string line and then putting these little bells on there so that an animal walking over it or walking into it, it would ring the bells and warn you that something was nearby. And so I thought it was a really, and remember how he said, and we've talked about this before, Mike and Seth, that when they go out there with all this tech, I love them bringing the new tech online and bringing it out here to the show to try to, like the thermal imaging and all the other things they have. But then there's been that talk where, oh, well, Bigfoot can sense these things. They can see the infrared. They can sense the electronics. Whether that's right or wrong, we don't know. But sometimes it might be good to go old school and just go out there with your eyes and ears and maybe some kind of non-electronic type of signaling device, such as these bear bells. And they're just basically a bell set up on a string. You can see one here. There's a bell right there set up on a string, and it's just going to ring when the string moves back and forth. Really great idea. And so
very low tech, simple.
Yep. And not something that most animals, if they can detect electronics, they're not going to see this.
No EMF.
Right. Puts out no EMF at all. Here's another shot of like the perimeter where he set them up. Now I do have, if you remember, and I mentioned this earlier, they were talking, Bryce went out to talk with a guy, one of the locals, his name was Josh, and he was talking to Josh about the Kushtaka, or, well, let's just say Josh brought up the Kushtaka, and he was telling about this story. This happened to him, to Josh, where all of a sudden he felt compelled to go climb up onto this mountain to go up there. So he did. He got up there. He says he blacked out. And then he came to and he was talking about a police officer was arresting him. And I might have missed something in between, but he lost track of time. He lost, because he blacked out. And he said, now this was the thing that really, he said that the police officer was cuffing him. And when he asked the police officer what he had done and why he was being cuffed, the officer told him he had no color in his eyes. So I guess the pupil he was all white, was the way I kind of took it. Is that the way you took it? I mean,
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what he meant by that, but he mentioned the
Hmm.
officer put his hand on his gun, or did he draw the gun? I just remember him saying something about that, and then
Yeah.
put him in. But he was rattled by the cop was rattled by the way he looked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was not thinking all white out. I was thinking total black eyes, just blacked out eyes.
That would freak you out too. Either way, all white or all black, either way, it's going to freak me out.
Yeah,
Yep.
I heard a story about a cop in like the Dallas area. I think, I don't know what, maybe some YouTube or a radio station, but it was a story where a girl's boyfriend was messing around with a Ouija board, and then it started getting really weird and like speaking in tongues. And then like she called the cops because he was just sitting in his room all being like weird. And she said his eyes were crazy. And that when the cops got there, it took like several cops to pin him down, and he was just like a man possessed. And that's what, hearing Josh tell his story, watching it, I thought of that, and get goosebumps, and it makes my skin crawl a little bit, wondering what could be behind Josh's experience, and that, whatever those cops were encountering.
Right.
Yep.
Truth Seeker said, what law does that break? It doesn't break anything. It's just simply that the cop was freaked out by it from the way he explained this. Yeah.
He could have been concerned about him harming himself. So for his own safety, just, get him controlled.
Right.
He didn't say he was detained or under arrest or anything, sound like. So,
right.
And his clothes were off, right?
Okay.
Did he take his clothes off? Was that part of the story?
I think he did say something about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, a naked guy with crazy eyes. Maybe the cops might have just been making sure everything was okay.
Let's get him into the back of the squad
until they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Might have saved the guy's life, honestly, him coming
Yep.
across another human being, able to snap him out of that.
Yep. Exactly. So, So interesting story, but it gets us back to this whole thing with Mr. Ronny LeBlanc, and he did have cameras set up too. He did have he said all the trail cams were working properly. I do have the shot here of that. They did show that on there. So not only did he have the bear bell set up in a perimeter, but he also had trail cams up as well. Now
that picture there is important too, though. You see that those trail cams show up on thermal.
Yep. Yes.
Oh.
So if Bigfoot has any capability beyond ours, right?
Yeah.
How hard would that be to spot in the woods?
Yeah, that's.
I wonder why they get Bigfoot on a trail cam.
Right.
Have y'all ever? I mean, I don't. I've only seen it. That is a good point, Mike, and it reminds me of. So, if you ever watching like on a baby cam, you got a baby cam that's got really good vision, so in a dark room you can still see your kid. An iPhone, when you see it scanning your face on the baby monitor, I can see the camera shooting light up and scanning a person's face. You can't see it in real time, but it's interesting that the little, what was that? Infrared lights that it's like, or it's
the heat of the battery or something in there. I don't know.
Well, because it looks like the first time I saw it, I thought, my phone was flashing, and then I realized that it was when it's scanning your face to unlock it. Anyways,
yeah, I'm not sure what's actually causing that heat in there, if it's the infrared light or not, but that's interesting that it shows up on the thermal like that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that out. I hadn't even thought about that. That's a great point. I do have a little clip of this, and I wanted to play this. This is the one where I was talking with the guys earlier, and I wanted to show you guys everyone this clip that I have. And it's one of those ones I had to break it up because it was about 34 seconds long. So I broke it up into some pieces. So I'm going to let it run through until we get to the end. Then I'm going to ask you if you all noticed something. So let me open this up here. And okay, so it starts off, of course, with my logo. All right, so everybody watch this closely and see. And we're going to talk about Ronnie first. Listen to what he's saying. I know if you all watched this show last night, you probably picked up on this yourself, but check this out. That was Josh he was talking to.
What the hell?
See the bells moving. All right.
What is going on? Do you think these creatures have the ability to affect our mind or
absolutely
get inside of our heads a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. They're capable of just about anything.
What the hell?
Okay. All right. So he was talking to Josh. That was, you heard them in the background. Bryce was talking to Josh while they were showing little clips of Ronnie, and Ronnie cannot see. Now you can see the lines moving. Now the wind is blowing a little bit. You can see that because you can see the fire and I can play this again so you can check it out one more time. But you can see that the sparks are actually blowing a little bit. So the wind is blowing, but you don't see any leaves or anything. Anything else really showing that much wind. And those bells are going off and Ronnie's walking around, but you listen to the things that Ronnie was saying and he's starting to feel very confused about what's happening and very, and we go back to that whole talk about the infrasound and if this Kushtaka thing is for real and it messing with your mind and is it moving something now? And again, did you all notice something in the clip that I just played? And I'm going to, now this time when I play the same clip, I'm going to direct your attention to the tree branches on the right side of the screen when Ronnie's walking around. Watch those tree branches that are inside the perimeter. At least I think they are. But watch those tree branches as I play this whole clip again. And at the end, I got a little, repeatable clip, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So I'm going to bring this back up, and I'll play it from the beginning again, and then I'm going to stop it. But pay close attention. Cat.
Yeah, Cat was on it.
Cat already got it. But watch around the tree branches.
That day I haven't felt the same.
What the hell?
Okay, not yet. Hold on. In the next.
What's going on?
Okay, watch the tree.
These creatures have the ability to affect our mind or
absolutely
get inside of our heads a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. They're capable of just about anything.
What the hell?
Okay, now you can tell that the wind is blowing. Yeah, John, you can see it moving around. Is that enough to move those lines? The lines were not tied to a weak tree. They were all on very big trees or logs, so they weren't tied to the little branches that was moving around. But did you see the little distortion that happened in between the branches of that tree or somewhere thereabouts? So we don't know if it's on the back side, the front side, or what. But I'm going to play this clip again. Now here, and at the end here, the next thing you're going to see is me taking that little 2-second little clip of that distortion showing up, and it's going to be like 5 times. So you get a really good look at it. Okay. And it's happening right there in between those tree branches. All right. So everybody watch that again. And I want to get your thoughts. Was it just me and my computer watching it? Did I get some sort of a glitch? But here, I'm going to play it again. Or that portion of it. See there? Right here.
Yeah, and down at the bottom right corner too, you see movement or a white
yeah,
glitch.
Now, something that we were talking about, Mike and I and Seth, we were talking about this, and I can move this back and forth a little bit right here. Now watch this distorted area. Now, one thing I want to point out is you see this branch right here. I don't know if my mouse if you can see my mouse,
Yep.
but you can see these little pieces along, these little distortions along this branch. And then you see this over here by the line, and it looks like they're on the other side of that line, but yet it almost looks like it's happening onto this tree branch. And down here at the bottom, you'll see down here at the very bottom right corner, you'll see like a little orb move by. Now I can move this little back and forth. Now see how they look like they're dancing along that tree branch. And then right here, you see that looks like an orb, and that's where the distortion begins. And right down there is that little orb right here at the very bottom corner. You see that little orb show up. All right. So now that you've seen it, what do you guys make of that?
Pretty interesting. It's interesting that it's bound by that angled branch and almost by the line, the string. There's a little bit of pixelation below that, but it almost looks like there's almost like a shadow from the line on that mass of pixelation or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, you're right. Right in there, right there.
It's almost like a shadow.
Like a shadow of it.
And is the orb is the orb on the bottom right connected to it, or is that something separate?
No,
they seem to move in unison, but you think they're separate?
Yeah,
I thought. Yeah, the more I watch it, the more it does look like something. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what to see. There's that little orb right there. You can see it show up right here. And it looks like it's moving towards the line, like it's moving towards the branch. As I move it, right? I'm going to go forward now.
Renee said there was an orb or light to the left of the tree of a tree when he first got up as well.
Oh, I hadn't seen that one.
Neither did
I. Spider web reflecting light when the wind blows. Maybe.
Interesting. I like that idea.
I don't think so, but is it possible? Sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good possible explanation.
I'm looking for, camera effects, maybe.
I'm with Pete. I've been wondering why are we in the dark so much? Come on, guys. Patterson Gimlin film was filmed during the day. Russell Acord got a Bigfoot standing up and walking during the day. You're in the most beautiful green, lush forest I've seen in a while, and they're just walking around at night. But so I'm with you, Pete. I've had that thought too.
Yeah, I don't know.
But apparently they like the dark. So.
Yeah. I know. I've seen stuff like this too, but I mean, it's just and I just, to me, it's really cool. Again, on this branch right here, that's angling up and to the right. When you see those little things as I move it back and forth and they're dancing along that branch.
We got some more good ideas. Craig said perhaps smoke from the fire. Truth Seeker said,
but why did we not see it go past the tree? It's like confined within.
That's what got me thinking there's something to it. When we noticed it wasn't going across the tree or the line, that it's like behind it.
Yeah.
If it was some camera or reflection because of the infrared, why wouldn't it distort the whole area?
Yeah, I don't know. And nothing shows up here above this tree branch. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to show that to you guys and get your ideas on it. So, Ronnie's freaking out. The bells are going off. He can't see anything. He doesn't really hear anything. But the bells, he's asking the cameraman, do you have your camera running? And he did. And this shot is taken from one of the cams, from one of the trail cams. It's cam E, as you can see right there. So yeah, it's inconclusive for sure. So I don't know. Wanted to show that.
Fun to speculate about.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to speculate about because it's really strange. I mean, what you just want to wonder what the heck. What was
Maybe Bryce will dissect it in the next episode.
maybe Bryce will
Ooh.
dissect it, and
We
I'm
get
hoping
it
he
catching
does.
the stuff after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I hope so. I really hope he does. Another thing along the way that I thought was very interesting was they were talking about that obsidian. I remember when Russell was in the cave or in the tunnel, and he found that obsidian, those little shards of obsidian. He went back. He collected them all up, and he took them to Bryce, and they took them off and they got them analyzed. During that time that they got analyzed, he finally got to, and this is something Mike said earlier about how long it takes to get the data back from all this. That they said there was nothing but human DNA and some other animals of the forest DNA. Nothing strange was found on them. But then he brought up a story, and he talked about Bryce was talking about this, and he said in another cave in Alaska called On Your Knees Cave, archaeologists found what they're saying is a older than 10,000-year-old human remains, and next to the human remains were shards of obsidian. So if you think about going back that far in time, and somebody would, what's one of the great characteristics about that obsidian? It's sharp, and you can chisel it away to make tools or something like a knife or a scraping or cutting tool out of it. Very sharp
It has
edges.
protective energies too if you're into crystals and vibrations and stuff like that.
So, yeah, I thought that was really interesting, but unfortunately, there was no. I mean, there they were. There was a little collection of them in a cave. Now, and again, you go back to what you said earlier, Seth, about is Bigfoot maybe some sort of a leftover from,
In ancient era, yeah. Are they
ancient era, prehistoric days?
Yeah, are they the giants that the Bible references? I don't know.
And what would he use for tools if he found something that he needed for sharps, cutting, or scraping, or whatever? He's going to use obsidian if he can find it, right? So
yeah, and Bryce was talking about that too, where primitive man has always done this, and if, like you said, if Bigfoot is some primitive form of man, and that reminded me of, I'm sure Mike has seen it, and is it called A Flash of Beauty, the documentary, the Bigfoot
yes,
documentary?
Yep.
I believe there's a Native American that gives a story about his experience on the coast where he's getting rocks thrown at him by a Bigfoot. And I think he said that Bigfoot is the most original version of us. And that always stuck with me because I feel like modern man is a manipulated version. My own personal thoughts, but yeah, it makes sense to me. I go outside and I got to squint my eyes. I got to cover myself from the sun. Bigfoot is way more suited to this environment than we are. So, if anybody was here first, I would put my money on Bigfoot. And I think we are the kind of breakaway from Bigfoot. We go far enough back, we're probably related somehow, right?
Yep.
If he exists.
By the way, that the Flash of Beauty Bigfoot revealed, that was the first one. There's now a second one.
What?
Just came out. A Flash of Beauty Paranormal Bigfoot.
Oh,
fantastic!
Wow.
Thank you,
Have you
Mike.
seen it yet?
Look it up. Yep.
Oh, you have.
Equally as good.
So you like the first one as well?
I bought the first one. I watched it. Yeah, it was very good.
You can rent it or buy it on Vimeo. It's not very expensive. It's like $5.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Now I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah.
Yes, Craig. James Keenan and I have talked about that very thing, that very topic, right there. Yes.
Oh, that would be awesome. I love James Keenan.
I spoke with James when we were at Phenomenon, and I've talked to him since then, and he is going to be coming on the show, and we are going to be talking about that very thing, among other things. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Once we get the dates worked out on that, James will be on the show again. So yeah.
Don't start using that stay tuned stuff. I hate that.
Well,
Such
it's
a
not because
tease.
I can't tell you. It's just because I don't
I
have them
know.
yet. We haven't
Oh,
scheduled
okay.
yet.
That's okay.
the
That's
only reason.
different. That's
Yeah,
different.
that's the only reason why I say stay tuned.
To be determined. Yeah.
To be,
When-
yeah,
There you go.
date to be determined. To put it that way. All right.
Tentatively planned.
Tentatively, yes. Tentatively,
Yeah, I think
no date yet.
I did that too one time, Jeff. I was in the Skinwalker Ranch Discord, and you had told me you might get somebody, and this is during the season, and somebody was asking, well, who's going to be on the show? And I was like, oh, I can't say. And I think I said to be continued, and they were like, you're just like them. I was like, I can't tell. It's not my announcement to make.
Well, if you know, I mean, so
Yeah,
all right.
like Christy said, I take stay tuned as a yes.
Yeah.
or when they go, I can't talk about that. And I'm like, so yes.
Yeah, I like when they go,
Yeah.
I can neither confirm nor deny that. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
Like-
one. That's what Laird
like
does.
when
Laird Niven does that all the time.
Mhm.
I can neither confirm nor deny that, that they're going to be diving and finding a cave that leads to the Lot 5 Circle Rock feature.
Oh,
You heard it here first.
whoa.
Yeah.
Oh. I've been wanting them to do more diving, which I mean they have. It's so. Anyway, we won't go there.
Yeah, we're talking Bigfoot. I know. I distracted
Focus.
you. I'm sorry. It was my fault.
Focus.
Yes, focus on the show. Okay, the next clip that I have here, and we were talking about this a little earlier, and this is where we get to see some of Dr. Maria Mayer's tracking abilities. And she's talking about something she found. I couldn't see it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there because she saw it, and I believe her. There we go. There's my clip there. So she saw this, and I know it's going to be really quiet. I'll try to turn it up a little bit.
And it's almost as if something was standing like this. Something with two very big feet and was heavy.
Okay. She was talking about something was standing there, something heavy with their feet, like they were just standing in one spot. She could see the impressions in the mossy ground there, which I thought was really cool. And then later on in the show, she was talking about, she was with Russell, and she saw that she exhibited her tracking abilities there as well. Yeah. And Russell was working with her. And I thought, you get out there enough times in the woods and you're going to find some really interesting stuff. But tracking is a very interesting asset to have. I just wonder if the obsidian is local or from far away. For example, Yellowstone.
It is not found on Prince of Wales Island, they said. It is not native. Had to be brought in.
Now,
what brought to the island?
So what would be moving back and forth, migrating or roaming or nomading, and would bring obsidian to this place in a cave up in an island in Alaska? A bear's not going to do it. It's going to have to be something that could carry it.
Yeah, I mean, human or Bigfoot.
A human or Bigfoot, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. One of the two. One of the two had to do it.
Or, there's the Kushtaka, which that's a whole other category. Like, what do they use tools? How do they shapeshift? Do they use, animal skins like skinwalkers? Yeah. Why do they need you to take your clothes off?
I don't know.
Is it like Hulk? They just don't want you to rip your clothes, so they're like, no, get changed first before you shapeshift.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Dogman. There you go. All right, this clip here I think is of Maria. Now, when they're out there on the mainland after they crossed and went over on the boat, Maria and Russell are over there looking, and they lost the signal. They finally lost the signal, figured the battery died, and they were not able to continue tracking in that particular manner. But then they both stopped and were starting to use their thermal imaging cameras and whatnot to look around. And I think this clip here is of Maria's, and I'm going to play this real quick.
See that?
It's moving.
See that?
So she has obviously found something on the thermal, and it looked small, whatever it was. But she watched it for a little while. And then Russell. Oh, you know what I didn't show was the one. Oh, I got this clip in between them. This I got to show this one real quick. This was, remember when Bryce was talking to the lady who said that she was camping in her car occasionally, and out picking berries or whatever, and she would camp in her car. And she said that one night her car got pushed so hard that she banged her forehead on the steering wheel. And then she showed a print, a handprint, and I do have that clip. I'll show that one real quick. Again, you have to take people's word for these things because we just don't simply know. You have to take their word for it. We don't know. We weren't there or whatever. But you see these. Now I'm going to play this clip and it just enhances this. But you see this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 very long fingers. And then this area here is the palm of the hand. And apparently, we don't know how long this is, but it appears to be quite a big hand. Just looking at it, it looks like it's larger than a human hand. And now I'll click on this, and what it does is they did an overlay on it, but you can actually see it there. I mean, that's pretty prevalent.
Oh wow, yeah, look at that.
And then if you come down here, you can tell where the thumb is coming down.
So
we need a palm reader to tell us what's in this Bigfoot's lines.
Yeah. So, yeah, so you got a long lifeline, probably, huh?
Right. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. All right. So we don't know what to make about that. But now moving back on to the thermal imaging, when he first showed a picture and he was saying, look at that, it's moving. This was Russell, of course, talking to his cameraman. And I thought he was talking about, okay, why is this not coming up? All right. Oh, there it goes. Man, that was weird. Okay, I thought he was talking about this figure right here. To me, that figure looks like a person standing there. Does it not?
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was. And you see this little brightness, it's right here, like on the knee. And then it moves and you see it over here on this side. And I thought maybe that was a hand or something moving around. I thought that's what he was looking at. But apparently it was actually because he turned the thermal on and he got a thermal hit later. I think I actually had another picture of it here. Yeah, there's another picture of the same thing. I think that's actually a tree or something. Yeah. When I thought it was a person standing there or a thing, something, a bipedal, something or other standing there. And then Russell sees the image. And I'll play this one first. And this shows that light moving. And you're going to be, let me try to enhance that a little bit. See if you can, oh, that's worse, isn't it? Well, let's see what happens when I play it. Now you see it moving from, yeah, you can't see that. I'm sorry. That's.
What is that? Can you see this? It's on the other side of those trees.
Okay. I'm sorry. That one didn't come through very well. It was pretty washed out, but let's see. Let me bring up the other one. Now this clip that he got at the end, this is one of those ones that simply blows me away. And I wanted to show you all this. It was, to me, it's remarkable. Eventually he's watching this and he sees what it looks like. It's a beaver, and it's walking down to the water's edge. What appears to be the water's edge, and it's feeding or doing something down there. And then he sees, because he sees that first, then he sees something that it's showing itself standing by a tree.
Yeah.
Just feet away from this beaver.
And standing upright. It looks like a bipedal thing.
And standing upright. Yeah, something that's standing upright. Now, again, this is one of those, it's a little washed out. This down here is the beaver, and this is the thing that's standing there looking, what appears to be looking at the beaver. We'll see if this will play for you guys so you can.
This thing is moving.
Yeah. And then the beaver takes off.
And then the beaver takes off. I'm going to play that again.
This thing is moving.
So Folks, what in the heck is that?
Yeah. So the red is the hottest part. The yellow is a little bit less, but you can see that's about equivalent to what the beaver is. There's yellow on the beaver too as it runs, and it moves out, and the beaver takes off running pretty quick. There you can see the eyes on the beaver are red, so it would be that hot.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That to me is very, very cool. This thing moves out from behind there. Now, you know, yeah, run, beaver, run. The beaver's trying to get the heck out of there because this thing is probably going to kill it and eat it. I'm going to go back to this whole thing about it's not a person. Russell said it was whatever it was standing upright. And I apologize for the quality of this. It's not as good as I would like, as well as the show was. But this thing, when it moves out, you can see that it's definitely humanoid shaped. And I'm going to say it's not a person because why would there be a person out there without a coat on in the Alaska nighttime? Well, actually, it's coming up on morning by this time. If it were a bear, it's standing on 2 feet on its hind legs, standing up, and it'd been standing up this because Russell said he observed this for a while. Now, we don't know how long a while was, but he watched this thing for a while, and then it started to move out. It looked like it was getting ready to make its move to grab the beaver, and the beaver saw it, startled, and ran off. And then, like always, the thermal signature disappeared that quick. Gone. I don't think it was a bear either, Cat or Renee. I really don't. Bears do stand on 2 feet. We've seen that before, and there's no denying that happens. But I mean, whatever it was standing there like this for a long time. And I don't think a bear is going to stand on 2 legs for a long period of time, partially covered by a tree. And then when it starts, and then finally it starts to move out from behind the tree. And then that's when the beaver, takes off. And then moments later, the thermal signature is gone, just simply gone. Looks like Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
All right. So again, one of those things, and Russell gets these thermal. What do you guys make of that? I mean, what's your impression? Is it a bear?
Russell made an assumption there that it was hunting the beaver.
That's true. Yep. An assumption.
You think it was hunting them?
They're known as tree peekers. I mean, so that it's not uncommon to see exactly what it did. That's commonly reported. But Russell could see it. It could see him. He was assuming that the beaver just could have been, in between them by coincidence.
True.
And I would think it was more concerned about him than it was about getting the beaver.
Yeah.
So, Mike, that leads me to kind of what my first thought was when Russ wanted Maria and Ronnie both to cross onto the mainland. I thought, what if this is a male distracting them, pulling them away from the unit? And if these things are so sensitive to electronics, wouldn't they be aware of a tracker attached to their fur? What if it took him knowing I'm going to pull these guys away so my family and young ones can have more time? And Russ,
get away.
Yeah, and then Ronnie, having that gut feeling of I think there's still something here.
Yep.
He would be the one to kind of have that more spiritual connection, I'll say. I don't know if that's the right word, but he'd be more open to thinking, no, I feel something here still. So in this moment that we're getting, like you said, it's obviously where Russ has his thermal on him, and he's basically, like you said, going, peekaboo, I'm here, so yeah, that to me, that kind of connects my initial feeling of maybe this is a distraction, because they've done this before Bigfoot has done this before. If I believe that Bigfoot is what's taking the trackers, they seem to mess with them.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Like a highly intelligent creature that's simply
Mhm.
messing with them, going, "You think you're gonna find me with this stuff? Here, we're gonna have a little fun. Let's have some fun with this guy."
Yeah.
I don't know. Isn't that odd though? I mean, and Russell gets these thermal hits, like
Yeah, he
like
does.
when he was looking at what he thought was a bear across the valley on the mountainside, a hillside on the other side, and then it stood up and walked away.
Yeah.
And then he went over there and he found the flat rock with another rock. It looked like it was chipping away or breaking up
Right.
something.
Obsidian.
Obsidian. Bears don't have a thumb to hold on to something like that.
Right.
I don't know, folks. And then the final thing that we got on this as the show was closing, and this again, like I said, I think this was a fantastic one because of all the different things that they found.
Always a cliffhanger.
Always a cliffhanger, and here is one of them right here. They were showing what they said it looked like a handprint, and you can see the grooves right here, the grooves in the ground. Whoops, I'm pointing at the wrong thing here.
And the expert tracker, Dr. Maria Mayor, found this one.
She's the one that
she was
found
spotting all kinds of stuff.
She was. She's the one that found this. And the next picture I have is of she got out her scanner, her little 3D scanner, and she was scanning it. And there you can see it very clearly. And then the enhanced. What do you guys make of that?
It's like a handprint.
What's with the thumb? Is that like a normal? Is it like curved down?
Yeah, it was hard to tell. Is that just how they colored it, or is that really what that depression is?
Is it like Jeff's saying where the thumb's going down into the ground,
pushing down into the ground, maybe?
I didn't quite.
Is it only the heel of the thumb, and you're not actually seeing the rest?
Okay, you're just seeing up to this knuckle.
Yeah, you're seeing that. You're missing most of the thumb, and it's just the base of the heel of the thumb.
That's not a bear track.
No, I don't think that's that. Yeah, not a bear, not a bear, not a moose, not a wolf,
not a bear track,
not a beaver track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? I mean, we haven't seen the scale yet because they kind of like left right as they finished scanning it. So it seemed really big, right? Like
maybe it was like that. Yeah, with the
thumb much bigger than.
Yeah, Jan said maybe the thumb was curled like this.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
could be right.
We've seen a lot of footprints. It's the first time we've seen a handprint. We don't know how big it was. It looks big. It looks bigger than a human one. And that's based upon the show. I'm just basing it simply. Yeah. Giorgio, I'm not saying it's a Bigfoot, but it's Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot. Not saying it's aliens, but so yeah, there we go again with another interesting find right at the end of the show. A handprint.
I hope they find something else around there too. I mean, if you would think if there was a handprint, it just bending straight over. There should have been footprints, a knee print. As good as she was spotting stuff left and right, I'd be surprised if she didn't see anything else besides just that handprint.
So you think it was a calling card, knowing that they were on its tail, and it's like a hello.
Maybe
they knew they would spot that. I only say that because Renee's comment got me thinking. Renee said the shape of the palm is the same as the print on that car door.
Yeah. Had much longer fingers. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Bigfoot was like, "Oh, I know you got the picture of my print on the door. Hello."
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that.
If it's the same one, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie said there's a whole family unit there, so I don't know. Hopefully we'll see some more analysis of this. We still haven't gotten back to the analysis. Maybe that'll be in the bonus episode, the analysis of the blur or the distortion when they were in the tunnel system, and they found that that distortion that moved.
Well, that was just so crazy to see, and then to have the LiDAR data to back it up, right? Like,
Right.
because it's one thing for us to be like, "Ooh, wow, that's interesting," and we can think it's Bigfoot or a cloaked being all we want, but we don't know. But LiDAR, it's like, I can't sit there and speculate. Well, was there something? No, there's something was there.
Yeah.
It's not just a camera artifact at that point.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know, man. And I said this at the beginning of the show, and the reason why I did was because of all this evidence. They have been gathering evidence all season long, up in Alaska, and is the evidence that they're gathering? Is it it doesn't prove that there's a Bigfoot, and I'm still, like I've said before, I mean, I'm waiting for that thing to be standing there and get a full body picture of it. But I mean, you put all these pieces together, and we started, and this episode, it kind of led us to believe this before, but now it's getting even more so that there's more going on here than just this hairy creature that's a dumb hairy creature walking around in the woods, because of all the other weird things happening. And you talk about this Kushtaka and the mind games and the making people do things like this, and the infrasound and the things that the disappearing act that they do. And I mean, all these the LiDAR not showing up in the visual picture, but in the LiDAR saw something sitting there in the cave or in the tunnel. I mean, and the bells moving when there's really not a lot of wind to be moving those bells around. And then Ronnie seemed, I mean,
a tree sculpture to a altar to a horned goat.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the nose of that thing getting red hot.
Yeah.
I
don't
mean,
think it was touched. I think
what in the heck is going on? I mean, I don't know.
Not to offend the practitioners of voodoo.
I don't know. But I got this. Go ahead.
I think there's a human element. I think there's this other shapeshifter, Kushtaka, and I think there's Bigfoot, and I think we're seeing all these things overlapping. And the human element of it, I don't know. It makes me have a bad reaction to it.
Yeah.
I don't trust there's good intention. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe that altar was a happy offering.
Yes, maybe it was a happy offering.
Yeah, just happy nature spirits and Mother Earth. But because at night everything looks creepy. Maybe it's a beautiful artistic. I could see beauty in it, but I don't know. Something on my gut is like, ooh, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Cat, I don't know if all four lines were making the bell sounds, but there was definitely more than one. Because you could hear during the show clip, you could hear more than one going off. So there was, I don't know if all four were, but definitely more than one. So I don't know. This show is gone. Like I said, it's going from just a dumb hairy creature in the woods to something far more. And it leads me back to what Travis Taylor said when I recorded him at that luncheon at Phenomenon, when he was talking about it being a phenomenon that is affecting, that we're seeing, but our brains can't comprehend what it is. So it's making up something. Does that make it? It makes sense, but again, I don't know. Why is it making up this Bigfoot thing? Because we've heard people talk about Bigfoot. I don't know. But even the indigenous peoples have talked about Bigfoot for years. We've talked about the fact that there have been giants on the planet. We know that it's in the Bible that there were giants.
Yeah, and how do we explain the infrared? That's not me.
Yep.
I don't know. And the sounds, like the Sierra sounds.
Yeah.
What made those noises? They've done Mike, you probably know a lot more about this than I do, but haven't they analyzed it and they say a human couldn't make these ranges of noises, that there's a language here as well?
Yeah.
I don't think that was a bunch of cowboys in the California Sierras going, "Oh, this would be a good prank." Like, no, I don't think they would have been that adept of a prank.
Yeah. The sounds that are made in those Sierra sounds span, I think, over 5 octaves. Now, there's one thing for like Mariah Carey to be able to do however many octaves she can do. I think like 3 or 4 octaves, but that's a single note going from low to high. It was producing multiple sounds simultaneously spanning 5 octaves. Even vocal cords cannot replicate that. So that in and of itself, makes you kind of wonder. And then there was there's a linguist that did an analysis of it, and there's a lot more science to that type of stuff that I'm not as schooled in, but the structure is there is basically what he says. The structure is there for language. There was a clear conversation going on between a male and a female. He seemed a little agitated, and she seemed. I mean, you don't have to speak someone's language. I had some Korean friends, and I didn't need to speak Korean to know when he was getting chewed out by her.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it sounded like. Was she was like, "What are you getting all worked up about? Leave them alone. They're giving us food. Knock it off." And he eventually calms down. So just why go to that? If you're going to fake something, why would you
go to
think
all
of
that?
doing that?
Yeah.
Why would you think of doing that? An argument between a male and a female.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
And audio, the ability to play with audio and record things is not nearly sophisticated like it is today. If they were going to try and create those octaves, multiple notes reaching different octaves, like I don't know how someone back then could have easily done that. If at all.
Yeah. Yeah, like they say on Skinwalker Ranch sometimes, if we were going to make this up, it wouldn't be that.
Right. Right. And there's too many of those details amongst all of the stories, and even this show. There's too many consistencies that are, fairly minor. Not the types of things that people would normally think to make up. In fact, the cases where you have experts looking at things are like, nobody else but me as an expert is going to know that that's a thing.
Right.
Like the dermal ridges, the first time that someone was looking at dermal ridges on casts, and the expert was looking at those ridges and realized they weren't in the direction that dermal ridges run on a human foot. They were in the direction that they run on a primate's foot. Only it was in the shape of a human foot. Who would know to do that?
Right.
And those are those moments when these experts sort of have an epiphany and are like, the only alternative here is that if this wasn't faked, it's real. And now what am I going to do? As an expert, you realize this is actually, there's something here. So what does that mean? I don't know what the conclusion is. We're not necessarily saying Bigfoot is real, but there's an awful lot of evidence that I believe is legit. What's the conclusion? I don't know. There's still some holes that are unanswered or unfilled in my mind of how does this work? There's another aspect to this thing that just the Sierra Sounds, it was in Northern California, Ron Moorhead. You can purchase a copy of them for a nominal fee, but they're all over the internet too. In Google, Thinker Thunker is a YouTube and has excellent audio analysis of those Sierra Sounds. Very good. And interesting, again, we talk about how the Patterson-Gimlin film that in 67, which we just passed the October 20th, 1967, the anniversary of that. They didn't have electronics. They had no electronics. Yes. Frame 352 from that film.
Yep.
The camera was mechanical. It's spring wound.
Yep.
And they didn't have cell phones. In fact, they didn't have, they were wearing all natural materials, cotton, leather, wool. So does that play into why they were able to walk up on her and see her?
They're on horses as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so even though they were using, I believe they were using well, I shouldn't say traditional tape deck. I don't even know how to describe it. They were using a cassette tape recorder, I believe, is what Ron Moorhead was using, but they ran a very long microphone cable out from the little hut that they had created there back in those days out to it. So the recorder itself, which was electronic and ran on batteries, was 40 feet away from the microphone, which is passive and picking up sounds. So did that play into why he was able to get such better audio than anybody else? Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Wow. So, like you said, we go back to all of this evidence. There's been so much evidence that have been gathered over the years, and by very credible people. And that's why I still say to this day that even though I'm still on the fence with Bigfoot, there's just too much out there to simply make an absolute denial of the possibility of a Bigfoot type creature existing or multiple of them. And it would appear to be that there are multiple because there's sightings all over the United States and sightings all over the world. They call them by different names. You got the Yetis, you got the,
Yowie.
The Yahweh. You got so many different ones in different parts of our planet. How do you dismiss all of it? I don't know. Many people do. Many people say it doesn't exist. I remain open-minded because I'm not going to say a Bigfoot type creature does not exist, even though I haven't seen anything in my lifetime that I would say, oh, I think that was a Bigfoot. But I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. We may not just understand what it truly is. So, but how does he disappear the way he does? I don't know. Final thoughts, guys?
Another great episode.
Great episode.
Great episode. I'd like to see some more technology in this last episode. Maybe some more cool thermal hits, some orbs. We haven't really seen any orange orbs this season, right?
No,
true. They haven't had as many lights.
Right.
Yeah, which leads me to think, maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're encountering solely just this shapeshifter. But so I'm kind of a little interested in, is this Kushtaka gonna pop up again? Which probably will. So yeah, hopefully some more local stories, more science, and give us a nice wrap up for the end of the season. It's been dark and spooky, and like all good topics, making me questioning a lot of things about that I assumed were one way, and now I'm going, well, maybe it's not.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you.
I'd love to get a list of their equipment and where they got it from, like those GPS trackers or those long range audio surveillance things that they put out, because that was kind of the same thought there too, is that they were further away from their camp and maybe they'd catch some audio, and they did. The scanner that they were using, the 3D scanner.
Yeah, that thing is so cool.
So awesome.
I just want an app where I can use my phone and
I know, right? Totally.
I want that thing that Russell has where he can put up the thermal imaging camera and watch it on his phone. Yes. I want that. I want that bad.
Ooh, and some night vision goggles too.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got and again, stay tuned for Russell Acord and Zach Hall to be on the show. And we'll ask them for a list of the equipment. So don't forget to ask that question. All right. guys, I appreciate it so much. We got one more episode to go, and hopefully we're going to be just hoping and that there's going to be a bonus episode down the road at some point. We'll see. But I haven't heard anything about it yet. But man, like I said, another great episode, and we have the very last one coming up next week. Yeah, let's continue. I put it to you guys to find me some people who want to come on, or how do we want to proceed with it? Did you say you were going to be able to get Les Stroud on the show, Mike? Have you?
He was at the gas station the other day when I ran into him. I don't know. He's not in Iowa. Trust me. A thing to survive in Iowa. It's easy.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't he be something to talk to, that guy?
Oh, man.
That would be a 4-hour show easily.
Yeah.
Well, I'll reach out to him.
All right, Seth.
There you go, Seth.
Don't make me
probably got an in.
No,
you know everybody.
You know everybody.
Maybe,
yeah, exactly. All right, folks. Well, thank you for being here with us tonight. We really do appreciate it. And like I said earlier, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if you like the content of the show tonight. I just did there's been about 40, 50 people watching here tonight, and I'm looking over, I see 28 likes.
Only half of them liked it.
I know only half of you guys like the show. Well, I understand. I know it's me and I talk too much. But
Me too.
Yeah, no, you don't. Neither one of you guys do. I do most of the talking. But anyway, we appreciate it very much for you guys hanging out with us here tonight. And we'll be back next week. Don't forget that on Wednesday, the 1st, we have, and this is for the Oak Island fans, Mr. Scott Clark is going to be on the show. We're going to be talking with him. And then on Thursday night next week at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, just like tonight, we're going to be talking about Expedition Bigfoot episode number 8. And so we will continue there. And we really appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of your evening. We'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everyone.
Night.